Hello everyone, my name is Greg. In this video, I am going to talk about some new age bullshit about this higher consciousness crap and divine garbage. And it also goes in line with this stupid notion of ascending to a higher level or there being a higher level. I have a lot of problems with this. Largely because it is unsupported new age bullshit. This is something that people that say they are spiritual will try and tout. But when I ask, where is your evidence? They give me the same bullshit I've heard from Christians of, we are evidence of whatever. It's bullshit. It is a logical fallacy. I think it is the logical fallacy begging the question, or a false equivalent. Either way, it's a logical fallacy. It is bullshit. You do not prove that there is some magical woo-woo thing by saying we exist. No, it doesn't work that way. If you want me to believe some wacky woo-woo bullshit, you have to have evidence to back it up. Otherwise, I ain't buying it. Now, one of the things that someone had asked me recently was, have I ever had any moments where I felt a higher consciousness? And I was, define what you mean by a higher consciousness. Because without knowing what they mean by the term, it is impossible for me to say if I have experienced this. And what it boiled down to that they were getting at was the idea of imagining something. Just because you can have an imagination and you can imagine a fictional scenario doesn't make it real. Just because Star Wars is a popular sci-fi movie series doesn't mean Darth Vader is real. It doesn't mean Yoda is real. It doesn't mean that there is a force. By the same token, just because Nightmare on Elm Street was a popular horror series doesn't mean Freddy Krueger exists. And you can use the same with any fictional movie. There are tons of examples of people that have used their imagination to imagine some bullshit scenario in order to have a movie and have the movie be good. I'm not even talking about the stupid B movies that are absolute garbage. I'm just talking about the good ones. The thing is, we have enough good fictional movies that there is no way that the fictional characters in those movies could actually exist just because somebody imagined them. Absolutely not. It's called fiction. By the same token, these are the same people that will try and act like we are living in some kind of matrix. Because again, The Matrix was another popular movie. It was very well done. However, and yes, I did enjoy The Matrix. I thought it was a very good movie. I liked the first one more than the sequels, but be that as it may, it was a very unique and interesting idea, just like Dark City. The thing is, it doesn't mean it's real. No matter how much you like a movie, no matter how much you like a work of fiction, it is still a work of fiction. Just because you can imagine something doesn't mean it is real. I want to be crystal clear on this, because if this would be the case, that all you have to do is imagine some bullshit thing. I can imagine myself a billionaire. Doesn't mean that I am. And if somebody would imagine some bullshit scenario and convince themselves that it's real, they could end up basically having to be put into a loony bin because of not being able to be in touch with reality. That they would be, in a sense, lost in their own head. And that is the danger I see in this new age bullshit idea of a higher consciousness or whatnot. Now, the reason that I had asked this person to define what you mean by a higher consciousness was I felt myself this close to actually starting to talk about something that I had experienced. And I don't have an explanation for it. But I thought about it and I was, no, if I describe that, they'll try to say that's a higher consciousness. So I wanted them to define what they meant before I would go into anything because, frankly speaking, these people will act as if any unknown, anything that they can't explain, well, that is automatically along what they're talking about. It's not. Because when you try to nail them down on what they mean, they won't come close to what I'm going to describe to you. Oh, they may after they hear this. However, just be aware. If you hear somebody saying about something along the lines of what I'm going to tell you, bear in mind they could very easily have seen this video. What I am talking about, I may have mentioned it in a previous video. I probably did, but I'm not sure if I still have it up. A friend of mine had the idea years ago of creating what he called a deprivation tank. Because from what I understand, from what he has told me, his idea was along the lines of trying to simulate as an adult for us now, basically the being in the womb again. Having a tank where the water temperature is matched to your body temperature. It would be equivalent to a hot tub, and that's where I did my test, was in a hot tub. But his idea involved total sensory deprivation. Not hearing anything, not seeing anything. Floating in water that was matched, or is matched, to your body temperature. It's a very interesting idea. And I wanted to experience this because I was curious. I had heard different things of what people that had gone into this had experienced, and not all of them were pleasant. One guy became very violent after being in this. And it started me wondering on, did it have something, basically, did they go into a part of themselves and, in a sense, unlock something in their own psyche? I don't know. But I was curious about going through this because of how philosophical I am and how deep thinking I am. Because I would be curious, what the hell would I experience? Well, when I did this, it was in his hot tub. And this was late at night. And his girlfriend was upstairs asleep. So the only ones on his deck awake at that time were him and I. And he told me basically float in the hot tub. So I did. And I had meditated before, so I could block out the sound of the hot tub engine and just float in. Because when I got in the hot tub, he matched the temperature to 98.6, my body temperature. And he said, just float. And I did. And it was, for me, I can't recall that it didn't feel like I was doing it long. My perception of time was completely skewed. But I don't want to jump ahead. It was, while I was floating in this, I heard a female voice very clearly. And what she said was, why do you look for us outside of you? We are in you, around you, we are you. This was an interesting message. And it was something that I felt at peace. I mean, there was no tension, but that's just, be that as it may. The thing is, what brought me out of it was I felt water touch my mouth, and in a sense it snapped me back. And I sat up in the hot tub, and I got out, and my friend was talking, and he wanted to know what I had experienced, if anything. I told him, and he was interested by it, but he's more scientific as well, but he's mechanical in his pursuit. He's what I would term a mechanical genius. He can build just about anything. The thing is, after that is what really, where I felt different. The best way I can describe it is I felt disconnected. It took me about a week before it literally every day, it felt like I was here yet not here. I don't know if it was almost, to use the term of, in a sense, viewing life, my life, from in a sense, a third person, of almost looking at myself doing the things that I do. And it was I was intrigued by this. It's an experience I'd like to have again. I have not tried to recreate that to see if I could, or to see if it could be expanded on. But the idea that I tapped into some higher whatnot, I don't think so. I don't know. And that is ultimately where, in a sense, for me, things end. Is when I hit an unknown. I don't know. I don't try to say, I don't know, so this. No, that's an argument from ignorance. If you don't know, you don't know. You can't say, I don't know, so it has to be. You can't say it has to be anything. You don't know. And that's a key part of this. Because very logically, because I am a logical person, what I look at with, in a sense, what I had heard is basically the idea that whatever a person would imagine as a higher whatnot, it's a psychological projection of themselves. It's not out there. It's in you, around you. It is you. That what people call God, when they try to describe such, they are projecting their own ego. It's not a matter of them describing some entity out there. Mm-mm. Because there is absolutely no reason to believe that anybody would have any type, even if such would exist, and be, especially a being that would be behind the universe type of thing, something that advanced, something that evolved, we would not have terms available to us to describe it. There would be absolutely no way to put such an entity into terms that we could relate to. So to try to do that, I think, would be insulting to it. So that is where I regard, if such would exist, the safer thing for us to do is say there's no reason to believe it does, because there is no evidence to support the idea that it does. Because to try and pigeonhole something that would be that advanced, that evolved, and to pigeonhole it and put it in a box that we could understand, you would not be able to do it justice. So why try to do it at all? Why not just leave it as, who knows? And obviously, it doesn't care. Also, these people will act as if the scientific and what I would term realistic mindset, the demanding evidence, they'll look at it in a very negative way and act as if demanding evidence is being negative or whatnot. It's not. It is simply being realistic. It's not living in fantasy land. And by the same token, that when these people describe God or the divine or whatever bullshit they want to try and attribute mystically out there, they will invariably try to say it's only love and all that shit. And oddly enough, it would absolutely go along with everything that they're doing. Well, duh. I look at that and go, that's to be expected. What you never hear someone say, and I would question their sanity if they would say it, is, oh yes, I know God and he's a hateful son of a bitch. He hates everything I do. Then why do you do it? If this entity, or why do you try to follow it, or why do you say you care about this, if it hates your ass, hates everything you do, so forth, if it's so much against you, one, why are you doing those things? Two, why are you trying to cater to something like this? The thing is, they don't. They always put it as, it's a figure of love, it's wonderful, it's all, and it loves everything they do, it loves them, and it is a big circle jerk, is what it comes down to. I understand people want to feel good about themselves and so forth, but what irritates me is when these people try to act like I can't have peace or I can't be at peace and not buy into their woo-woo bullshit. I had said to this one person, upon what evidence do you base the idea that I'm not at peace? Where do you get this idea? It's anyone that watches my videos for any reasonable length of time would recognize I'm very passionate. I'm very driven. And I'm very logical, rational, interested in evidence, interested in what I can prove. There have been times in my life that I have, in a sense, thought more woo-woo in nature, and it's something that I'm very, to use the term, hypersensitive to, because I'm not going to be going around and embracing an idea just because it sounds good. Like, for example, and I had used this and mentioned it in different videos, there was a period of time where I was listening to this one channeler, Daryl Anka, that supposedly channeled this Bashar entity. And I found what he was saying it sounded good. But once I really started to get my critical thinking and the skeptic in me involved in all of this, it was one of, where's the evidence? How do you know he's not just making this shit up as he goes? Giving the audience what they want to hear, telling people what they want to hear. And I had to conclude, I can't. I have no way of knowing that that's not what he's doing, and most likely it is. The most logical thing is that it is very similar to the psychic's cold reading. And in that, it's bullshit. It's people making shit up to try and pacify others. And if it would just be, in a sense, for entertainment, I could say, okay, there's no harm. The problem is, these people that buy into this, they will buy into it completely and become very cult-like in how they talk about it and defend their idol. It comes down to another type of defend the idol, defend the guru. And it is something that disgusts me. It is something that I don't want to see happen with anybody towards me. No. Absolutely not. It's one, if I do a video or talk about a subject, I don't just want people to be blindly praising it, because it's one of, there needs to be a reason. Especially if somebody would ask, why do you like what he's saying? If you can't say, he mentioned this and this and this and this and this, and I agree with it, and here's why I agree with it, and expand on it in your own terms, then you're just basically a sheep doing a follow the leader, and that is not what will help our society. It's not what will help anyone. My interest is, with my videos, it's one, to get you to think. Two, it's enlighten you on something you might not have thought of. Three, get, in a sense, a topic, a conversation going about something. But what I don't want is somebody coming into my videos and trying to use that as a platform to preach their cult-like mindset. Because that ain't going to fly. I won't put up with it. I'm not going to have people posting bullshit and not having evidence to back it up. If you want to make a claim about something, be able to prove it. Don't, and it's one, I will not put up with people trying to use my comment section as a way to pitch their religion, cult-like idea, meaningless woo-woo. No, that's not what my comment section is for. But it's also, I've done videos on mindless drones and so forth, and I don't want that. I recognize that there is the possibility of some being like that, and it's pretty much unavoidable that there are some that are more bah in how they behave. I don't like it. I would prefer not to have that going on, but I also recognize I can't control it. But it's one I want to put it out and make sure that there is no doubt in anyone's mind, in a sense, what I do look for and what I do like. Because it's not a matter, I don't want any of you to just buy into something because I say it. That is not, it's because that is no different. If you buy into something just because I say it, then you have no more reason to believe it than you would for a religious person to say whatever bullshit they want to spout, and having people buy into that because so-and-so said it. No, that is an appeal to and is authority, or it is another logical fallacy. That because somebody is more of a figure, that a face that is out there, or a name that is out there, that, well, they said it. Because I've had people try doing it with me. One of, well, Sam Harris said this. I don't care. I don't go along with something because Sam Harris said it, or Richard Dawkins, or Christopher Hitchens, or even George Carlin. No. If I go along with something, or I like something that someone said, I can tell you why I like it. And it's not just because they said it. It's because it's true and I can prove why it is. And that is what really matters. It's not because someone said it. Because all of this does tie back into the religious type of mindset. And I don't want that present or even rearing its head in the atheist community. It can. And I want you guys to really be aware of that. That if we're not mindful of what we're doing and why we're going along with something, we can fall into that same trap. And it is something that I think we need to be making sure that we're not doing that. Because no matter how well somebody articulates a thought, it doesn't mean that you should just go along with them because they are who they are. No. Going along with something, there needs to be evidence to back it up. There has to be a reason. Otherwise, it's meaningless. But feel free to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. I would love to hear what you guys think of the experience that I had, and if I go and do another test of that, I'll let you guys know how it turns out. I'm not expecting anything, I'll tell you, but it's something that I would be curious, because if there would be a way that I could prove a spiritual or higher consciousness or whatnot, if there would be a way that I could prove it, I would be very interested in doing so. But the big thing is, I need to be able to prove it. It's not enough for me to say, I experienced X, so that makes it true. That makes it subjective. It has to be something that I can be, I did XYZ, if you do XYZ, you experience the same. To recreate it over and over and over. And I would pass on exactly what steps I did and so forth, so that you could test it. And if any of you would have a hot tub or have access to one, all I did, now I had a swimsuit on, I wasn't totally stark-ass naked, but just having a swimsuit on, float in the hot tub, and clear your mind. Meditate. Just let your mind go. empty all thoughts. Now, that'll take a little bit of work if you haven't meditated or haven't tried doing that, because what is termed in like Buddhism and so forth is quieting the mad monkey of the mind. And it is, anytime if you try to do that, I do want to point this out. If you try to meditate, especially right at the first time you do it, what you'll find is you'll be able to empty your thoughts, but then out of nowhere you'll have this random thought come in. And the way I had heard it put from a more Buddhist type of mindset is basically taking your mind and going basically like a puppy that is wandering off of the carpet and just picking it back up, going back to that place of calm, no thoughts, and just being stay, like you would to a little puppy. Of you put it down and be stay, and then you wait and let it be for a little bit, and then before too long it'll start to wander again, and your mind will do it. You just go back to that space of calm, that space of empty, no thoughts, and be stay. And gradually you will find that you can get that the periods of empty thought, no thought, will go longer, that you'll be going longer between some random thought coming in. But that's part of what you can do in that regard, and that will take training your mind. But I'm curious. It's, if there would be evidence or would be a way to prove, I would definitely be interested, but I'm skeptical. Feel free to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Later, people.